What happens when a coffee chain owner trades his corner office for a drive-through headset and finds out his baristas are being pushed past their limits? Wesley Vaughn stood in the back office of his father's legacy, a 17-location coffee chain that he'd inherited 3 years ago. He stared at the latest email from customer support, a complaint about a barista at Store 12 being rude and rushed, but this wasn't the first one. In fact, Store 12 had racked up 5 complaints in the last 2 weeks. Words like cold, sloppy, and pushy kept showing up. He'd asked for updates from his district manager, who insisted everything was under control, blaming staff shortages and Gen Z attitudes. Wesley didn't buy it, so he made a decision. He grabbed his phone and texted his assistant to clear his calendar for the next 3 days. Store 12 was one of the newer locations, opened during the growth push after his father passed. Most of the staff had never met him. His face wasn't on posters or company emails, and he rarely visited stores unannounced. The only photo of him was from a 10-year-old press release, and he looked completely different now: beard, glasses, and about 30 pounds lighter. He grabbed a wrinkled maroon polo from the old uniform shelf in the main office, pulled on a pair of worn jeans, and headed out. The next morning, he walked into Store 12 as a new trainee named Will. The store manager, a tall man in his late 30s named Travis, barely looked up from his tablet. "You're the new guy from temp staffing?" Travis asked. "Yeah," Wesley said with a small nod. Travis waved toward the counter. "Sierra'll train you, just stay out of the way, we're short-staffed." Sierra Jennings, a sharp-eyed barista in her mid-20s, gave Wesley a quick smile. "You ever worked espresso before?" "Only at home," he said. She handed him a rag. "All right, you're on cleanup for now. Watch and learn." Wesley spent the next few hours wiping counters, restocking syrup bottles, and watching the pace of the morning rush. Sierra was fast but kind, always making eye contact with customers and remembering names. The other barista, a younger guy named Matt, looked nervous, constantly glancing toward the back office. That's when Travis came out, clapping his hands once. "Pick it up, people. We got a 6-minute ticket time right now. That's garbage. You gotta move faster." Matt flinched. Sierra didn't answer, just kept pouring a latte. "You hear me, Sierra?" Travis snapped. "I heard you," she said without looking at him. "Then act like it. You're not paid to chat." Wesley watched Sierra tense but say nothing. A woman at the counter frowned and muttered, "Wow," under her breath. As the rush died down, Wesley helped stock the pastry case. Sierra leaned in and whispered, "He's always like that when the DM's not around." Wesley kept his face neutral. "He always this hard on you?" "Only when the line's long. He thinks yelling makes us faster." Later that afternoon, Wesley offered to mop. Travis walked by and pointed to the wet floor sign. "You missed a spot." "I'll get it," Wesley said. Travis scoffed. "Try being useful instead of pretending." Wesley bit his tongue. He wasn't ready to speak up yet. By day 2, he'd memorized the drink codes and started working the register. He was slow, sure, but polite. Travis didn't like that. "No time for chit-chat, Will. Take the order, move on. They don't need a therapist." A customer named Olivia, who came in with her son, smiled at Wesley. "You're the first one here who's actually friendly." He saw Travis watching from the back, arms crossed. A minute later, Wesley heard him whisper to Sierra, "I don't need softies at the counter. He's not gonna last a week." That night, Wesley sat in his car for a long time before driving home. He didn't say anything, just stared at the steering wheel. He had a staff that cared and a supervisor who didn't. And tomorrow, he was going back behind that counter. The next morning began before sunrise. Wesley pulled into the lot next to Sierra's dented Corolla and Matt's scooter. He stepped into the back entrance without being noticed, apron already tied, headset slung around his neck. The store was quiet, but the air carried the sour scent of burnt espresso and cleaning solution. Matt was prepping the grinders, eyes still heavy with sleep. "Morning," Wesley said casually, stepping beside him. Matt gave a half nod. "You're early." "Figured I'd get a jump on the rush." He glanced at the schedule taped above the sink. One name was crossed out: Lexi, with a note in Travis's handwriting. "Do not call back." "Lexi quit?" Wesley asked. Matt hesitated, then answered without looking up. "She cried in the walk-in yesterday. Travis told her to get over it or get out, so she got out." Wesley's jaw tightened. "How long was she here?" 2 weeks. "Fast learner, too." That explained the gaps in the shift coverage. They were down another body and no sign of anyone being hired to replace her. Travis stormed in 10 minutes later, already on his phone, barking into the receiver about vendor invoices. When he noticed Wesley, he snapped his fingers. "You, drive-through headset. Let's see if you can handle more than wiping counters." Wesley took the headset, adjusted the mic, and logged into the register. Sierra arrived a few minutes later with a thermos in one hand and a hair tie clenched between her teeth. Her eyes darted to the schedule, then to the empty walk-in. "She's not coming back," Matt said, without elaborating. Sierra closed her eyes for a beat before tying her hair back and walking to the espresso station. "I'll double on bar." "No," Travis called out. "You're on front. We'll got drive-through." "Matt's on bar." Sierra didn't argue, but her shoulders dropped slightly. The rush started slow but built fast. The headset buzzed constantly. Wesley took orders, trying to keep his voice calm even when the line of cars wrapped around the building. Inside, cups clattered and milk steamed non-stop. Matt was falling behind. Sierra was juggling customer service and order pickups, and Travis was in the back, scrolling on his phone. A drink ticket printed with a customer's note. "Almond milk, half sweet, easy ice, extra caramel drizzle." Matt read it and groaned, already working on 3 other drinks. "I'll get it," Sierra said quickly. "That's not your station," Travis barked from behind the doorframe. "It's either that or we get another complaint," she said, not breaking stride. Wesley handed out a drink at the window. The woman driving looked exhausted, a toddler in the back fussing with a toy. "You're the first person here who actually smiled," she said, taking her drink. "The guy last time told me to hurry up when I fumbled for my card." Wesley nodded. "That won't happen again." As the rush died down, a man in a suit walked in and asked to speak to the manager. Travis emerged, all charm suddenly. "I've been coming here for months," the man said, voice low but firm. "And your staff are great. But I heard you yelling at the girl behind the counter last week, in front of my daughter. She asked me why the boss was so angry." Travis stiffened. "I was giving direction." "This is a fast-paced environment." "That's not direction, that's intimidation." Before Travis could respond, the man walked out. Travis turned back to Sierra. "You've got fans." She didn't answer. An hour later, while cleaning the milk-frothing nozzles, Wesley turned to Sierra. "How long has this been going on?" His question was quiet, meant only for her. She stared into the sink. "Since I got promoted to shift lead 3 months ago. He doesn't yell at Matt, just me, and Lexi. He called her too soft, said she'd never last." "Why not file a complaint?" Her laugh was dry. "With who? The DM, that's his poker buddy. Complaints get lost." Wesley watched her rinse out a pitcher with practiced precision. She didn't want sympathy. She wanted a fair shot and a manager who didn't sabotage morale. Later that afternoon, a new employee walked in, a young man with tightly coiled hair, neat uniform, and a quiet confidence. He introduced himself to Travis. "I'm Jalen." "I was told to start today." Travis looked him over once, then turned to Wesley. "Switch with him. I want him on headset." Wesley handed it over, watching as the newcomer adjusted the fit. Jalen's first interaction was smooth, clear, and polite. But when he greeted a customer with a cheerful "Hey there, welcome to Press and Pour," Travis immediately cut in. "Tone that down. This isn't a comedy club." Jalen blinked. "Sorry, I thought, don't think, just take the order." Wesley stepped forward, voice steady. He was polite. Travis didn't look at him. "Polite is fine. Performative is not. Keep it professional." Jalen stayed quiet, but his eyes narrowed slightly. The rest of the shift passed slowly. Jalen worked hard, adapting quickly, but Travis kept finding reasons to correct him: volume, phrasing, even the way he handed a cup through the drive-through window. At closing time, Jalen lingered behind while others started cleaning. Sierra handed him a rag. "You okay?" he shrugged. "I've worked kitchens before. I know what it looks like when someone's got a problem with you before you say a word." Wesley heard it too, and he felt it. The warning signs were no longer subtle. That night, Wesley didn't go home. He drove straight to the company's regional office, a two-room suite in a shared building above a print shop. He unlocked the door, logged into the internal HR system, and pulled every employee complaint from the last year related to Store 12. Only 2 were filed. Both were marked "Issue resolved, no action needed." One was from a barista named Lexi, the other was anonymous. He called the HR director, a no-nonsense woman named Carla who had worked with his father for over a decade. "I need you at Store 12 tomorrow morning," he said. "No notice. Just walk in and observe." "Understood," she replied, "and bring a termination packet." She didn't ask why, she just said, "Got it?" Wesley ended the call and stared at the screen. His heart was pounding, not from nerves, from anger, not explosive, not reckless, controlled, focused. Because now, it wasn't just about poor service or high turnover, it was about dignity, and someone was going to answer for taking that away. The next morning, Sierra was already grinding beans when Wesley walked in. She looked up, eyes a little heavier than yesterday. "You're back early," she said, wiping her hands on a towel. "Didn't sleep much," he answered without elaborating, tying on his apron. By the time Jalen arrived, the store had begun to hum with the low rhythm of prep, the clink of metal pitchers, the thump of tampers, the hiss of steam warming up. He gave a quiet nod to Sierra and Wesley, then went straight to organizing the syrup rack. He didn't say anything, but Wesley noticed the way Jalen kept glancing toward the back hallway, checking for signs of Travis. Travis walked in 4 minutes before open, coffee in one hand, keys jangling in the other. He didn't greet anyone. He unlocked the register drawer, dropped in the till with a loud clack, and muttered, "Let's not embarrass ourselves today." Wesley barely kept himself from responding. At 7:30 sharp, Carla stepped through the front door. She wore a gray blazer over a black blouse, simple and sharp. She glanced around briefly before approaching the counter. "Good morning," she said. Sierra greeted her with a practiced smile. "Hi there, welcome to Press and Pour. I'd like a small drip black, and I'd also like to speak to the store manager." Travis emerged from behind the pastry case, already shifting into his customer voice. "That would be me. What can I help you with?" Carla handed him a business card. "I'm with corporate. I'll be observing operations today. Please continue as usual." Wesley watched the color drain slightly from Travis's face, but he recovered quickly. "Of course. Let me know if you need anything," Travis said, forcing a grin as he turned away and disappeared into the back. Carla took her coffee and sat near the window, notebook resting on her crossed legs. The morning rush began to build. Wesley took drive-through while Jalen handled counter. Sierra was on bar, moving with tight efficiency. Travis stayed out of sight. At one point, a woman in hospital scrubs came through the drive-through, voice hoarse from the overnight shift. "Just a large iced coffee, please." Wesley handed it through the window with a napkin. "Rough night," she laughed quietly, "double shift." "Your people are the last smile I'll see before crashing." He watched her pull away, then turned back to the register just as Carla stood and approached the bar. "I noticed the manager hasn't been on the floor since I arrived," she said to Sierra. Sierra kept her tone even. "He usually stays in the back unless something breaks." Carla made a note and nodded, then walked toward the hallway. 15 minutes later, Travis emerged, expression unreadable. He stepped behind the counter and immediately turned to Jalen. "Why's the handoff tray smudged?" "That's your station." Jalen had just finished taking an order. "I'll wipe it down in a sec." "Not in a sec. Now, this is basic stuff." Wesley glanced at Carla. She had paused mid-sentence in her notebook. Her eyes stayed on Travis. Jalen grabbed a rag and cleaned the tray. Travis turned to Sierra. "Why are we still 5 tickets behind? We're down a person. This is the pace we can hold without messing up orders. That's not acceptable. If you can't manage a rush, you shouldn't be in charge of bar." Sierra didn't flinch, but her voice lost warmth. "Would you like to step in and show me?" Carla closed her notebook and walked behind the counter. "Travis," she said. "Let's talk in the back office." He hesitated. "We're in the middle of the rush. It'll take 5 minutes." He followed her, shoulders stiff. No one spoke while they were gone. Jalen kept working, expression calm but watchful. Sierra poured milk with the same precision as always, but her jaw was clenched. The door opened after several minutes. Carla stepped out first, then turned back to face Travis in the doorway. "You can leave your keys on the desk," she said. "You are no longer employed by Press and Pour, effective immediately." The store went silent. Matt, who had just walked in for his shift, froze with his backpack on one shoulder. Travis looked from Carla to the team. "You're making a mistake." Carla didn't respond. He walked out without another word. There was no celebration, no sighs of relief. Just a quiet kind of stillness, like everyone was waiting to see if it was real. Carla turned to the team. "Effective today, Sierra will serve as acting store lead. We'll assign a support manager from another location by the end of the week. In the meantime, I'll be here daily until coverage is stabilized." Sierra blinked. "I wasn't expecting that. You've been doing the job already," Carla said. "Now you'll have the support to do it properly." Wesley walked to the back and returned with a clipboard. "I'll take floor duty. Jalen, you stay on counter. Sierra, run bar as usual. Matt, help restock." Jalen looked at him, confused. "Wait, aren't you the trainee?" Wesley removed the headset and set it on the counter. "No, I'm Wesley Vaughn. I own the company." Matt dropped his backpack. Sierra stared at him, expression frozen. "You what?" Wesley nodded. "I went undercover because I didn't like the picture I was getting from reports. Turns out I wasn't getting the truth." Jalen glanced toward the back. "So, you saw all of it?" "I did." Sierra leaned on the counter, eyes locked with his. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" "I needed to be sure, and I needed to see who was holding this place together." Carla stepped forward. "You've got a strong team, under-resourced but resilient." Sierra shook her head slightly. "We're not looking for medals. Just respect." "You're going to get it," Wesley said. "Starting now." He looked around the store. There was still a line at the drive-thru, still orders to fill, but the weight in the room had shifted. "Let's finish the shift," he said. "Then we're closing early." Matt looked surprised. "We never close early." "You do today," Wesley said. "You need a meeting and a meal on me." For the first time that morning, Sierra smiled, not a big one, just enough to show she believed things might actually change. Wesley rolled up his sleeves and clocked in for the lunch shift like everyone else. The plan was simple: finish strong, then shut down early for a full staff meeting. But execution was another matter. The store was still understaffed, tension hadn't fully lifted, and customers kept coming. Sierra managed the floor with quiet command. She didn't give speeches or bark instructions. She made eye contact, gave short, clear direction, and filled gaps without needing to be asked. When Jalen ran low on sleeves, she handed him a fresh stack without breaking her stride. When Matt hesitated at the espresso machine, she stepped in beside him and said, "I'll steam, you pull." Between orders, Carla stayed near the register, observing without interfering. She took notes now and then, but mostly watched how people worked when no one was breathing down their necks. Wesley handled headset again until Sierra tapped him on the shoulder. "You mind switching to dishes for a bit? Matt's falling behind." "On it," he said, stepping off drive-thru and walking to the back. The sink was stacked with pitchers, drip trays, and milk crates. No one had cleared the prep sink since mid-morning. He rolled up his cuffs, turned on the hot water, and started scrubbing. 15 minutes later, Carla joined him by the dish pit. "I've spoken with HR," she said quietly. "There have been 3 informal complaints about Travis that never got logged. One from Lexi, the others were verbal." Wesley kept washing. "Let me guess, all dismissed." District manager said they were emotional reactions to stress, nothing actionable. "Who's the district manager?" "Brian Lentz." Wesley set down the soapy carafe and faced her. "I want his access suspended today. I'll review every store under his region personally." Carla nodded once. "Already in motion." Wesley dried his hands and followed her to the back office. He pulled up the staffing schedule, looked at the open shifts for the next 7 days and started making notes. By 2 o'clock, the team was slowing down. Jalen was leaning on the counter, wiping down the POS screen. Matt had picked up the broom without needing to be told. Sierra looked over and said, "Let's lock the doors." Wesley turned the sign and Jalen drew the blinds. They gathered near the prep table. The clatter of the espresso bar had stopped, and for the first time all day, no timers were beeping. Wesley leaned forward, resting his hands on the steel surface. "I owe all of you an apology," he began. Jalen raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For not showing up sooner, for trusting reports over people. I thought quarterly walkthroughs and surveys were enough. I thought I was staying connected." Sierra didn't interrupt. She let him speak. "I built this company with my dad. He believed good coffee was only half the job, the rest was how we treat people. Somewhere along the way, I let that standard slip." Matt crossed his arms, shifting his weight. "So what happens now?" Wesley glanced at Carla, then back at the team. "First, I'm assigning interim leadership here from our downtown flagship. Her name's Evelyn. She started as a barista, ran a store for 5 years, and trains new managers now. She'll be here tomorrow morning." Sierra nodded slowly. "Temporary, until we figure out what this store needs long-term, but you," he said, meeting her eye, "will be involved in every decision. You've earned that." Jalen looked over. "So we're not getting someone like Travis again?" "No. And I've started a full audit of how we promote and train managers. We're reviewing every complaint that was dismissed. And we're updating our process so complaints can be submitted anonymously and tracked. No more verbal black holes." Carla added, "We'll also be introducing a weekly feedback check-in. Short, direct, and logged by HR. If something's wrong, we'll know." Matt finally spoke up. "What about replacements?" "We're still short." "I won't sugarcoat it," Wesley said. "Hiring takes time, but we're fast-tracking applications starting today. We'll bring in 2 floaters from neighboring stores until coverage stabilizes." Jalen asked, "What about Lexi?" "She didn't deserve what happened." "I reached out an hour ago," Wesley said, "told her what happened, apologized, and invited her back if she's willing." Sierra raised her eyebrows. "And she said she'd think about it, no promises, but she appreciated the call." Carla stepped forward. "Also, everyone here is getting a bonus, not just for what you endured, but for holding this place together when you shouldn't have had to." Matt's face softened slightly. "That's unexpected." "It shouldn't be," Wesley said. "It should be standard." He looked at each of them in turn. "I want to be clear. This isn't a one-time fix. I'm not here today to play hero. I'm here to take responsibility. You've been carrying weight we were supposed to manage." Jalen asked. "You gonna keep showing up or just send someone else next time?" Wesley didn't hesitate. "I'll be back next week. Not to inspect, just to work a shift. If you've got concerns, you'll tell me directly." Sierra glanced at the others. "We'll hold you to that." "Please do," he said. Carla looked at the time. "Let's take a break. There's food in the car, real food." "Not muffins?" They stepped outside where a catering van had pulled up. Sandwiches, salad trays, and iced teas were unloaded. No speeches, no banners, just lunch. Wesley sat with them on the curb, eating a turkey sandwich, listening while Matt told a story about an exploding milk jug, and Sierra laughed for the first time all day. Jalen asked about the first store Wesley ever opened. Wesley told them about the broken grinder, the leaking roof, and the customer who paid in coins for 6 months straight. By the time the sun dipped low, the team was still sitting there. No one rushed to leave. When cleanup began, Matt started clearing tables. Sierra restocked cups. Jalen swept. No one told them to, they just did it. Wesley helped mop. Carla took the trash out. Before leaving, Wesley paused at the door. "I'll see you all again soon. But even when I'm not here, this place, this culture, it should feel like you're respected every hour, every shift." Sierra gave a short nod. "That's the goal." As the door closed behind him, the lights inside dimmed. The store was quiet but not empty. It was resetting, not just for the next day but for every day after.